as long as you're careful with that. But you can use them to control things. And you can attach sensors to them so that you can take measurements, and you can build yourself a little system with the Arduino at the heart. So you connect a little bit of electronics to it, and then you can have it do something really clever. And if, like me, you come from a software background and you're used to writing programs, you'll absolutely love writing programs for the Arduino, because big software, you have to write reams and reams and reams of code before it does anything. Arduino, you know, a long Arduino program is about 50 lines of code. Most of the time it's really straightforward and simple to write, as I hope I'll show you in a minute. So as I said, you can attach sensors, so you can measure light levels, measure temperature, measure the voltage of the pin, so you can make yourself a little voltmeter if you wanted to. You can attach actuators, so this is kind of the other side of the equation. You can measure things and then you can control things. So you can turn LEDs on and off, you can produce sounds, not high quality audio really. You can kind of fudge it a bit and make something that's not too bad, but you're not going to be producing hi-fi quality sound, but you can make beeps or make quite reasonably sounding tones on a loudspeaker. You can also display text and graphics on small, low-resolution displays. You can sort of step up to slightly higher resolutions, but you're not going to be attaching big HDMI displays like this to an Arduino. For that, you'd use something like a Raspberry Pi, really. It's about choosing the right tool for the job. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to switch over to actually using an Arduino. So the first thing to do, of course, is to actually plug it in. And let's plug it in like that. So it's just a USB lead, and you'll notice once it's plugged in, you get a little power light comes on, and then there's another little LED there, which is called the L LED, and that's permanently attached to one of the input-output pins of the Arduino. So you can test out a little bit of controlling things without actually having to build any external electronics or attach anything to the Arduino. You can literally get started just with an Arduino and a USB lead. That's really all you need. So I'm going to switch over to the screen and start up the Arduino IDE. So the Arduino IDE is the piece of software that's free to download and well, completely free to use. It's actually open source software, so you can get hold of the source code if you want. It's completely free. There's no charges of any sort to use it. And when you start up the Arduino IDE, you're greeted with this, which is called an empty sketch. And a sketch is just what the Arduino community call a program. So if you're into programming, just whenever you hear the word sketch, just translate it to program. It's nothing more complicated than that. And if you'll see that it's divided into two sort of blocks of code here. You've got a setup block, and then you've got a loop block. And when you create a new project, you automatically get this template, and then you can just start filling it in. So the setup block says, put your setup code here, this will just be run once. So what that means is that whenever you press the reset button on your Arduino, or whenever you plug your Arduino in for the first time, the code that you write in here will happen. It will be executed. The loop block, the loop function, is different in that this will just keep running over and over and over again. So the setup function just runs once when you plug it in or press reset. The loop function will just keep running all the time. So we could start off just by saying that we want to control this L LED, which we have on the board just there. You can see that little green LED. So we're going to control that and make it blink. So I'll switch back to the code. And the first thing we do, this is going to be a bit tricky holding the mic as well. I'm not the best typist with two hands. So we do. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, that's great. So we start off with the pin mode function. So when I say function, you can just think of it as a command, if you like. Pin mode. So you have to say pin mode, and then you say this is going to be telling the Arduino that we want one of the pins, and in this case I happen to know it's pin 13 because that's the one connected to that LED. So we want pin 13 to be an output. Okay, so that's these pins that we have on the side of the Arduino can be used as either inputs or outputs. So you have to say which way you want to use it, and in this case we want to use it as an output. And then we want that pin to flash on and off. So the first thing we need to do is turn the pin on so the LED turns on. So we do that with the digital write command. So we do digital write, and again it's pin 13 we're interested in, and then we say high. So high and low basically mean on and off. You have to end every command with a semicolon. It's a bit like the full stop on the end of a sentence. Then we want to delay for a short while, so let's delay for half a second, and I put 500 in here because this is the number of milliseconds, so a millisecond is a thousandth of a second, so 500 milliseconds is half a second. The next step is to turn the LED off again so that we get the blinking effect. And then finally we need another delay so that it doesn't quickly whiz round that loop and turn the LED back on again before we've had time to see that it's turned off. So again we do delay 500. Okay, so we've changed what we need to change. We've added code to this basic template that we got when we first started the Arduino. So let's download that onto the board. And a couple of things we have to do to make sure it goes to the board. We have to do tools, board, and then we have to make sure it's the right kind of board. Because there's actually a lot of different types of Arduino now, and a lot of different types of Arduino compatible boards. So in this case we're using absolutely standard Arduino UNO, so that's selected, that's fine. And then we have to select which port. So if you're using a PC, it might say COM1, COM2, COM3, and then in brackets after it would tell you which type of Arduino it is. So it's just in case you happen to have multiple ones connected to your computer. Okay, so that's all good to go. So now we can click on the upload button, and what I'm going to do is switch back to the view of the... Thank you for this, by the way. Okay. So now when I click on the upload button, it's prompting me to save it, so let's just give it a name. Call it Blink1, save, and then it's compiling the sketch and it's uploading. And you notice there's a little bit of flickering going on, and that's finished now. And now that LED 13, can you just see that is blinking away nicely? Okay, so that's if you like, the starting point that pretty much everybody goes through with an Arduino. We haven't had to connect any electronics, we can just make it do something. It's turning that on and off. It could be a lot more clever than that. You could have that turning on and off some appliance, your lamp, or a huge string of LEDs, or anything else that you wanted to control, if you then take the next step and add some electronics to it. You're going to get quite tired doing this. I think I'll take it back. I've got quite a lot to step through. But thank you very much. There we go. Yeah, so there's different types of variable, and int is what you use to refer to a whole number. Float is what you would use to refer to a number with a decimal point and some more digits after the first number. So we could say constant int, and then we'll define a pin we want to use. We'll call it LED pin. And then we give it a value, and we'll say we're going to attach it to pin 10. And then down here, instead of using 13, we can just use the name LED pin. So we say LED pin. And then again down here where we say 13, get rid of that and do LED pin. Okay, so if we run this now, it'll stop flashing the LED because we've changed the pin that we're using from 13 to pin 10. So I've uploaded that now, but if we go and switch over the connection on here so that this is connected to pin 10.
I see it.
There's pin 10, there we go, pin 10. Okay, we've done something wrong. Can anybody guess what that is? Shall I scroll down the code a bit? Because it's on all the time. Sure. On the other end, thank you, that's great. I haven't changed this other place where it says 13. So it's turning it on, but it's never turning it off again. So let's change that.
Yeah. So we have to start it also.
No, yeah, I
There
see
we go.
that.
So, yeah. That said 13 there, and I haven't changed it to say LED pin. With your PC. And that command is serial.begin. And then you had to tell it what speed you want to communicate at. And this is a thing called baud rates, back from the early days of computers. I don't know if you remember the little squawky dial-up modems you used to have, and you got a massive 34,000 baud or something like that. Well, an Arduino, it's not sending very much data, so it can pretty much run at a slower speed as you like. So 9600 is something of a standard. So I'll set it to 9600. And then in the loop, what we need to do now is quite a lot of this can go.
Where are we?
That's quite loud, isn't it? Alright, so inside the loop function, I'll just show it. Inside the loop function, what we need to do is have the sketch looking for a command coming from the computer. And we do that with an if statement. If statement is the same kind of meaning as if in English. So you say if something is true, then do something. So we do if serial.available. So a lot of brackets around here, and people find it a bit confusing at first, and it's one of the things I try and explain in the book really, about how to deal with all these funny open and closed brackets and things. But basically the open and curly braces say all of these things belong together and should be done at the same time. So if serial.available just means if there's a message come from that somebody's typed on the computer and it's available through the serial connection to the Arduino, then we want the Arduino to do something. And what we want the Arduino to do is to find out what number has been sent over the serial monitor. So we'll say, again, it's going to be an int, and we'll just call it x, because I don't want to think of a good name for it. So we'll say x equal, and then we'll do serial dot parse int. And what that does is say, I want to read an integer, a whole number, from the serial monitor and put it into the variable x. So that's what happens there. And then, having done that, I want to use that number I've read to control the brightness of that LED. And the way we do that is with the analog write command. So we do analog write, and we have to say which pin we're going to use. So we're going to use LED pin. And then the second thing we have to say is what we want it to be set to. How bright do we want the LED to be? And this has to be a number between 0 and 255. So we'll just say X. We won't do any special checking or anything. We'll just let it happen like that. Okay, so to recap, we've changed the program a little so that we've added serial.begin 9600 so that we can communicate between the Arduino and our computer. In the loop function that runs over and over again, we have an if command that says if serial.available, if somebody has sent a command from the serial monitor, which I'll show you in a second, then read that number and set the LED to that particular brightness using the analog write command. So there we go. Let's we'll upload that onto the Arduino board. Done uploading. So this is going to be a little bit tricky because I really will need both screens at once. So what I'm actually going to do is open the serial monitor. So hopefully you can see at the moment, let's use real life rather than the camera. So you can see at the moment the LED is off, but let's enter a number, let's put in 255, which should be full brightness. And there we go. And then let's make it really quite dim and put in a small number, so we'll put in 16 perhaps. Okay, maybe a bit too small that was, let's put in 100. Okay, so medium brightness and then 255 back up to full power. Okay, so hopefully, oh, what's happened there? Oh no, that's okay. Yeah, so the numbers we're typing in here are what are being sent to the Arduino. So this thing is called the serial monitor, and you type a command in here and then you press send or hit enter and it sends it over the USB